Welcome to the first part in a series of 3 video essays about the video game Genshin Impact. Now, Genshin Impact is an open-world adventure RPG with an ever-growing variety of places to visit and stories to experience contained within. Its story follows a traveler who has previously seen many worlds, who is on a quest across the world of Teyvat to find their missing sibling. On this journey, we consistently encounter a huge range of people, consume a variety of different foods, and see regionally unique architecture and magnificent local monuments. All of those are used to represent the 7 nations of Teyvat, and all of them find their bases and their roots in the different cultures we collectively live and know in this world. The first nation we are introduced to is Mondstadt, or Mondstadt, at the heart of which is a city based on Germanic European architecture and drawing from vaguely European cultural elements and cuisines. Next, we visit a location called Liyue, which is a vast region with valleys, hills, mountains, and the main port city, all of which are based loosely on China. Bamboo is aplenty, and so are Chinese-inspired dishes, music, and village and city designs. Third in the story comes Inazuma, a nation of islands far off the eastern coast of Teyvat that is immediately recognizable as a representation of Shogunate-era Japan, an era of Japan where the nation was closed off from the rest of the world and ruled by militaristic autocratic rulers. In-game, this region is ruled by the Raiden Shogun, who is herself an autocratic militaristic ruler that rules with an iron fist. Japanese temple and house constructions are prevalent, and so are Japanese-inspired sword arts and enemies. Our nation of interest for this series of video essays is Sumeru. Sumeru is the 4th nation to release and came out as part of version 3.0. This nation has significant geological and ecological variety, and is loosely based on real as well as stereotypical fictionalizations of North Africa, with a focus on Egypt, as well as the Arabian Peninsula, what is now known as Iran, as well as the Indian subcontinent. This is the nation of the Dendro Archon, or the god of plants, who is also known as the god of wisdom. The latest nation to be released, Fontaine, is another nation based on Europe, this time however with a focus on France and Western Europe rather than Germanic Europe. This name itself means fountain in French, and many characters and objects carry French names. A common thread that you will notice here is that most of these nations can be linked to a distinct culture or set of geographically and contextually related cultures from the real world, which forms a major part of the developer's narratological approach to world building. That is, except for Sumeru, which is a mishmash of cultures that are evolved and practiced distinctly and separately to each other, coming from a very broad region that one cannot consider to be an overarching single entity. Three theories or concepts, namely deconstruction, cultural capital, as well as narratology. Specifically, I will be analyzing the dynamics of cultural capital and how we interact with cultures that we deem to be superior or inferior to ours, according to the current systems of power that govern this world. And I will be deconstructing the very premise of the game's story, as well as the premise of the aforementioned systems of oppression that we live in our world. As for narratology, that basically means I will not be looking at the game mechanics and in-game playability as much as I will be looking at the story and the way the regions and nations of Teyvat are portrayed. In other words, I will be deconstructing the current realities of Genshin Impact and its storytelling approaches in light of a global system of power and relevance that places higher value on certain cultures over others, while exoticizing or belittling all other cultures. What do I mean by exoticizing here? For the purposes of this exploration, I am referring to the unwarranted mystification of cultures that were and remain targets of Orientalism, including Southwest Asia, North Africa, and South Asia. While I will be discussing game mechanics and the ludological aspects of the design later in part 2, the major focus of this series will be on the narratives and stories told within the world of Genshin Impact. The main thesis I will be working with in this video essay series is that it is imperative and healthy to celebrate immense diversity, especially within regions of the world that have long been portrayed as monolithic and one-dimensional. However, doing so must come with immense respect, nuance, and a real connection to the peoples and lands that are being portrayed in a fictionalized and abstract manner. The coming parts will dive deep into the nation of Sumeru, covering everything from character design to geography to location names and beyond, in order to understand what is currently happening and attempt to link between what seems like harmless word building and the very malicious and well-ingrained systems of oppression that inevitably surround every production and consumption of media. From this deconstructed understanding, the ultimate aim is to reconstruct a better way of approaching foreign cultures and societies that is perhaps unknown to media creators, especially those who made Genshin Impact. Since the blanket assertion that people can only discuss and represent their own cultures is harmful and restrictive. Of course, my statement does not refer to closed societies and peoples that have elected to stay away from the rest of the world and stay away from their media productions. When it comes to them, it is a matter of fundamental respect to avoid using their identifiers and cultural elements in ways they expressly do not desire. Ultimately, the driving force behind this exploration is my fundamental belief that our cultures and societies should be objects of respect, empathy, and international intercultural understanding, rather than ridicule and belittlement, which tends to evolve into systems of supremacy and oppression when coupled with the material capacity to subjugate others.